Jokić with the block shot, his second tonight. Oh, what a pass by Jokić!
High-level shot making, and he's been willing to guard everyone.
Giannis, there's your thunderous dunk. We've missed that.
Basketball, who are going to be first-round draft picks. You know, your number one pick could be from France or Australia.
For decades, the NBA was an American-dominated league, but in recent years, a new wave of superstars from across the ocean have changed the league. I mean, we're talking in the last 5 seasons, not a single American player has won the MVP award, maybe except Joel Embiid, but honestly, is he really American? I mean, not because of the whole French affair in Cameroon as well, which is really difficult for his nationality. So not a single MVP was American in the last 5 years in an American league or American Canadian league. Also, the last championship team winning teams, I mean, 2021 Bucks led by Giannis and the 2023 Arizona Nuggets led by Jokić, which obviously were championship teams led by an European player and most importantly not an American player. So this video will be different from the last videos I did, and it's a lot more work that went into this video, as I have made some academic research, especially I already made academic papers for this research, and so I'll put on the screen right now for you guys the papers I used. This research is based mainly on Palauska's research. He did multiple papers like the NBA and the influx of international basketball players, but also analyzing elite European basketball players' performances, and other papers like the by Mr. Chen, is the salary of foreign players in the NBA affected by the nationality, which reflect very interesting data and new movements that are happening in the NBA when it comes to nationalities and how they impact their play. Firstly, the main statistical change we had from 1990 is obviously the increase of international players. I mean, in 1990, we had only 23 international players. Today, over 120 players in 2024, with many being the leading stars of the league and the faces of the league. I mean, Luka Dončić, Giannis, Jokić. I mean, we could keep on going. Even Wembanyama could just got injured, so we hope he comes back very soon. And especially when we look at a chart of all NBA players, we see the Jokić, Giannis, Luka, Embiid, Gobert, Sabonis, so many players being in the top 15 today, which was non-recurrent at all before. And this statistical shift being mainly important for European players. So I mean, obviously we talk about the stars at the NBA, and all of them are European. I mean, of course, also Canadian stars who have been present in the NBA, but that increase has been more limited in the last recent years. We were talking about an influx of European players into the league. So, and that leads to a question of more, how does the league perceive the players? Because for a long time, European players were considered soft or not to be NBA material. I mean, we saw a lot of times, especially when I talk to NBA people about the EuroLeague, is the fact that, oh, these are good EuroLeague players, but not NBA-ready players. And I think that the perspective has changed a lot during the last 20 years, especially the last, I would say, 10 years, especially since Luka Dončić entered the league. And also, how are these players different? What makes them different from before? Because we had numerous failed European players in the NBA before. Also, is this trend here to stay? That's also another question that is really important to answer. Let's break it down. So firstly, the major perspective is the difference of play between European and American players. I think it's a very easy to see difference. I don't need even statistical or academic research to tell you this, but of course the European fundamentals when it comes to basketball are very different over American, where European basketball focuses more on fundamentals over athleticism. I mean, unlike many American players who grew up in the AAU circuits, focusing on isolation scoring, Europeans are taught to master footwork, passing, shooting at a very early age. And that's why NBA teams today draft already these European prospects, because they already have elite level skills in shooting, passing, decision making, rather than just raw athleticism. I mean, how many drafted players in the NBA that were American we've seen in the last 15-20 years where teams said, hey, like, they have the potential to be a great scorer, great defender, and they have amazing athleticism. Well, in Europe is kind of the reverse, where athleticism was like Giannis and Wemby, we're building it on in the future, but that raw talent is already developed at a very, very early age, which I think is advantage of European development. Obviously, so it's a shift between the culture of basketball in Europe compared to the NBA. NBA has always been very showboating and a show culture in the US, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but we've seen that they move away from that, and that's why often we see American even commentators or especially spectators, where more casual spectators say that NBA today is very boring, because maybe it is. And I think the change towards European players maybe have changed that as European players play completely differently from NBA players, which is a reality, especially those who played for many years inside of EuroLeague system, or at least the national leagues. EuroLeague teams, according to Palauska's, they play team basketball. Players learn to read the game, make quick decisions, and play with a structured team. In contrast, many young Americans, especially in the college system, have to be the tough guy, the guy to dominate the baller in the collective system. I mean, if you look at the Dončić numbers, for example, in Spain, there was nothing particular amazing. But when you look deeper at the game, obviously, for a guy who was under 18 years old, who was a kid balling in the fucking EuroLeague, yeah, he was amazing. But it is how he played within the system that made him such a crucial player. And today we see how this develops in the NBA. And that doesn't mean the player cannot be the guy. It's just he's not used to playing as the guy within the EuroLeague system. I think, for example, Jokić is a very great example. He grew up playing point guard before his growth spurt, which is crazy. And we're given an elite court vision as a center. That's why we've seen this amazing passer, because he used to play as a point guard. And even when he was playing later on, of course, he went quite early to the US, but still, as a kid, he learned through the European academics how to play the ball and how to move the ball around, which is something the US lacks. Something else Palauskas talks about is the tactical versus athletic approach of the leagues. EuroLeague features a more slower pace, tactical basketball compared to fast, high-flying style of the NBA. And that means European teams rely more on set plays, off-ball movements, structure offenses, while the NBA allows more one-on-one isolation and transition plays. That means those players who are young playing these EuroLeague teams are already trained within the systems that we further on use maybe in the NBA, because the college system basketball rarely uses these systems or develops the players that young at that level. One side I really like from the study from Palauskas, sorry if I can, et al. Of course, other authors as well in the paper from 2018, is that the NBA has a high number of possessions per game, while EuroLeague had more structured half-court sets and lower turnover rates. So we see the EuroLeague emphasizes on not losing the ball, making quality plays, while the NBA is more by quantity over quality in the NBA. Which I think is a crucial difference between the two leagues, where the approach of in the US we want always more, whereas in European leagues it's more concerned about the fact that when you have the ball, don't lose it and actually make a good shot. And not necessarily a shot for you, but maybe for your teammates, because stats, as again, are not as important in the EuroLeague. I mean, it's very rare to see a player score more than 30 points per game in a season of the EuroLeague, if it ever happens. Also, something very interesting in the research that is the positional versatility of the players in Europe. European stars can be considered kind of like positionless star players. Traditional NBA roles are breaking down, and we know that. And I think it's very easy to say that the European players have led this revolution, or at least have benefited a lot and have pushed forward even more this revolution. I can give you multiple examples of unique positional versatility of players. I mean, Nikola Jokić, obviously, as I said before, a point guard who is a center and a point guard. He's everything. Giannis, he's a forward, a center. He plays like a 7-foot guard, leading fast breaks and driving coast to coast. Luka Dončić, of course, he's a guard or a forward. I mean, he's built like a power forward. He's tall, strong, but operates as a primary ball handler, playmaker, and a 3-point shooter. He's basically everything, except center. And of course, Victor Wembanyama, we've seen him playing as power forward, then center. Can hang into the ball. He's shooting threes a season, and defense guards. I mean, he's a true unicorn. I mean, Wembanyama is literally the unicorn. We've seen him multiple times starting the offense of the San Antonio Spurs, even when Chris Paul was on the team. Obviously, he's not the best ball handler, but he still could be that. And why this matters that much in this modern NBA is because the NBA has shifted towards skill over athleticism. In European styles have become the true blueprint for success. American players like Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum have even modeled their games after international stars. So the question is, are European players shaping the future of the NBA? The answer if European players are the future of the NBA is important to understand why is this happening? Why is Europe producing so many more NBA stars? I think one aspect is the early professional experience gained at the early age for European players. If you guys watch this from the US, you guys know the system that America works with. So the high school, college, NCAA, or the G League, playing other young athletes, which has been working for years and years now. And I mean, all the best players have come there. LeBron from high school, MJ from university, it's always been like that. However, Europe, which it's just the same as on other sports, has a much more complex system, whereas universities are not who the players play for. They play for academies. And those academies produce young talents, young prospects that will often join pro leagues as teenagers, which obviously is illegal in the NBA. It's pretty much as LeBron back in the day, instead of joining the league at 18, he would be joining the league at 14. Doesn't make any sense, but that's what happens in Europe. And I mean, so they play competing against veterans in high-pressure environments where they actually can already winning money, especially they can already win titles and show themselves on the biggest stage in Europe. One example, of course, is Luka Dončić, who was a EuroLeague MVP at 18, playing against former NBA veterans and top European talents, far beyond the level of competition with the NCAA, which is still high, but with further down the line we go, and with the increasing level of skill in the EuroLeague, this gap will get bigger and bigger over the years. And unless the America changes, this could be problematic for the future development of young American players. The EuroLeague even made a study in 2023 where it found that players develop more quickly in decision-making and efficiency because they face higher defensive pressure and physicality from a younger age. The transition from European leagues to the NBA is often smoother because players have already competed at a professional level before entering the draft. And that, of course, changes the NBA draft stock. When you have a franchise who can choose between a guy who has played at the high school level or college level and a guy who has already played with professionals and in more mature games, of course, these guys will be picked more and more often now, first in the lottery picks, And that makes complete sense. They are professionals. They're not amateurs. Even though I know some college players, we get paid, the contract, sponsorships, but we're talking here professional level basketball. Like, there's nothing above in their country. Another aspect, of course, we already talked about the approach towards basketball, also is how would the coaching philosophy change the NBA. Today, a lot of people tell you coaching in Europe might be even better than the US, which is a drastic change from the past, where a lot of young talents from Europe will be fleeing Europe to go to the US to learn how to play basketball. But the US players specialize very early. It was my top players only trained as a center. But in Europe, players learn multiple positions regardless of skills and especially of physical attributes. Bigs learn to dribble, pass, and shoot threes. Guards learn to play ball off ball, defend multiple positions. Paul has found in his study that EuroLeague players exhibit more positional flexibility and adaptability than the NBA counterparts. European training programs prioritize multi-positional skill development, preparing players for the modern game. If we compare three American big guys and Europeans, of course, this is a chosen selection, but still, was on the stakes, Jokić, Sabonis, and Porzingis against Drummond, DeAndre Jordan, and Dwight Howard. These European bigs have an expanded skill set, making them more valuable in today's game, and especially we're talking about today's NBA, which is much more fluid and getting closer to maybe not what the European basketball is, but European basketball is still very, very different, and I don't think we'll ever get the same at all, because I think it's going to another direction of European basketball. But we see the necessity, for example, for big guys to be able to shoot threes, to handle the ball, and to stretch the court. Spacing today in the NBA is obviously very crucial. I mean, since the Golden State Warriors revolutionized basketball in 2016, yeah, it's pretty evident. So this leads to NBA's growing preference of European players. And this we're going to talk about more about the financial and market reasons why the NBA is getting all these European players. First of all European players often outperform the contracts. In the Chen 2021 study, that's why he found that all European players have consistently exceeded expectations based on their draft position and initial contracts. Many of them entered the league undervalued. A very important stat from the Chen study is that international players, including European players, generate higher win shares per salary dollar than domestic players due to their efficiency and versatility. That means not only European players, international players find themselves playing better than what they expected, but also due to their position versatility, they can always find a place to play within the team and making every dollar more worth it. Other aspect, of course, is the NBA free agency and how today we can see actively pursuing European free agents. Today we see a lot of guys taken from EuroLeague and taking old international prospects, the European prospect, into the NBA through contracts. NBA front offices now are understanding the long-term value of European players, leading to higher salaries now and more roster spots for them. And this also leads to how the NBA is adapting to international influence. We're talking, in the first point is the NBA are increasing scouting in Europe. In the past, only a few NBA teams actually had full-time international scouting operations. Now every franchise has not only international departments, but dedicated European scouts and analytical teams. I mean, in 2023, 30% of all NBA players were international, the highest percentage ever. I mean, I have a quote from an old NBA scout. 10 years ago, most teams didn't trust European players. Now you're making mistakes if you're not scouting them. And as we talked before, the style of NBA is changing itself, and the European style play is getting more and more coherent within the NBA system. With more emphasis on ball movement, spacing, outside shooting, and less reliance on isolation and scoring and athleticism, which were always the marking value of American prospects. And another stat from the Chen study, teams that integrate international style offensive sets have higher efficiency ratings and lower turnover rates. That means international tactics and sets work better even within the NBA and with American players. And then when you combine it with European players, where you play this since a very young age within professional circuits, where you see all this starting to make sense, and why European players are getting so much more space within the NBA and so much more importance within the scouting departments of these teams. And I mean, we've seen also a shift through even American prospects, like LaMelo Ball, who played in Lithuania and Australia to become the NBA Rookie of the Year. Even Scoot Henderson, who skipped college to play in the G League. Of course, the G League Ignite was also a new concept within the NBA, which kind of resembles like European Academy. The problem is they play within the G League, which is not the highest flight of American basketball, and it is not at all the same level as European basketball at a high level. I mean, here's a very interesting graphic I made. Sorry for if it's not very clear, but basically European players' salary versus win shares is dramatically higher than those NBA players. Of course, I cherry picked maybe some NBA players, but still I think it still portrays an image that today European players are bringing victories, are making teams win, where American players not necessarily. And of course, we go to the future of European players in the NBA. More elite prospects are entering the NBA. It's a fact. The last decades, European players have consistently been drafted in the top 5, showing their rising performance. 2023, first pick, Victor Wembanyama, France. 2018, third pick, Luka Dončić, Slovenia. 2013, 15th pick, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Everyone drafted players. Zachary Risacher for France this year was first pick. Alexandre Sarr as well in the top 5 picks. And Matas Buzelis, who was also Lithuanian American, for those who didn't know. So he played in the G League, but he's trained with European fundamentals. The future fact about European players in the NBA, the fact that so many European players become dominant. Jokić, Antetokounmpo, Dončić, Wembanyama. These are all the face of the league. I mean, who else would you count as the face of the league? Anthony Edwards, maybe. But honestly, the majority of the face of the league today are Europeans, which is ridiculous to think so. And it is not crazy to think that in the future, the GOAT will be an European player. Maybe not any of the players we see today, even though I still hope for Wemby to be the GOAT one day, but we hope he recovers. The conclusion is that the NBA will be seeing more European players join the league over the next years. And it's something that's inevitable and very logical statistically, and also with how the game is developing. And the NBA's future could depend on how much the US learns from European basketball, especially European developmental tactics for prospects. And what we get to is the fact that the development system of the Europe is just so much better. The fundamentals, pro experience, team play is proving superior to the traditional US system over time, especially with this changing NBA. So if anything to add, maybe something to comment about my research, maybe something I should have added, maybe something I can improve, put it in the comments down below. Of course, I'll take it gladly. Of course, unless it's hate speech, then I would not love it. But thank you for watching this video. I really put a lot of work into this video. I don't know if it's visible. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice time.